Personally, I was looking for something to protect me while I was on my travels.
Put it inside. Yeah, we can prepare like the amulets. Okay. And the person put it in the pocket, in the bag, something with you. Cool. To protect you.
He was in Africa and he saw them doing witchcraft, tying the knots.
We call those amulets here. Amulets are actually, yes, what they use the name of God. Amulets.
We see the beautiful nature and, lions and whatnot. Did you ever get to, walk around and see a lion walking around somewhere?
Can a man become a woman?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is your brother Imam Musa Azam. I would like to encourage all of our Muslim community, consider giving generously for this noble cause that is desperately in need of our time. Mega Dawa Center is needed to address the Islamophobia effectively. And this is what brother Eddie through Deen Show has been doing, whose reach is now, just as with the Deen Show, over 5 million. Imagine if we give Eddie the Deen Center, how much more we will be able to reach and how many people are going to benefit from it. Once Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts any effort from your side, then He gives you another project, and that is a sign of acceptance of the previous one. Brother Eddie have started his Deen Show. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant acceptance to it. Now He gave him another opportunity to have the Deen Center to serve the humanity. It is our duty, my beloved, to do whatever we can to support and bring this into reality, desperately needed funds, and with that we'll be able to bring this into existence. 35,000 square foot building will come into existence as a mega Dawa center here in America that will serve millions for generations to come. So my beloved, please do not miss out this opportunity to take part in this noble cause, a historical thing that's about to take place. Please donate generously as soon as possible. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum, greetings of peace. Now my next guest, Dr. Shrino Omar Berry, is the Vice Chancellor, President of the Islamic International Open University. He has served as Permanent Secretary, Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Minister of Youth and Sports, Minister of Defense, and at the Office of the President of Gambia, and the list goes on. Now, he was born in a Muslim family in sub-Saharan Africa, where there were and still are many un-Islamic ideologies and practices that he was exposed to. Now, how did he navigate through all of them and get to the position to where he is today as the vice president of the IOU? Now, this is a very important episode because you might be confused trying to identify what is Islam from all of these un-Islamic practices and from all the weird things that you might have seen that some people associate with Islam that actually have nothing to do with Islam. So let's bring him on out. How are you, Dr. Omar Berry?
I'm very fine. I'm okay. And thank you very much. I'm also sending my greetings to all those who are listening and watching.
So you had quite an experience. Was this growing up in sub-Saharan Africa?
Yes. Let me say that sub-Saharan Africa has really been a hub of Islamic evolution in many, many ways. And
wait. Before we get to all that, because we think Africa and we think, we see beautiful nature and, lions and whatnot. Did you ever get to, walk around and see a lion walking around somewhere?
Well, I might be much luckier than you. I've not seen a lion per se, in the nature itself, but I've seen it in a zoo. But let me say also that I've seen a lot of other animals in the nature, ones that you might not often find in very developed countries today. You'll find most of them caged. But yeah, I mean, Africa has also gone a long way in that evolution. Now you don't find most of the wild animals very easily.
But you can take, don't they have trips that like tour guides that you could jump in a Jeep and go to certain areas there and you can actually be close to them. We see a lot of video footage of that.
Yes, in our part of Africa, it's difficult to find the kind of animals that you might probably want to see. But if you go to the eastern part of Africa, in Kenya, for more precisely in Tanzania and other places, they have got very huge nature reserves. So therefore, they've still got the wild animals in their own natural habitats. And you can find them in Congo, for example, you can find the chimpanzees. In Kenya, you can find still the zebras and the lions. But in our part of Africa now, the development and a lot of agricultural activities have really made the animals run away. So we hardly find them easily now. We ourselves, we also have to see them caged to be able to appreciate them.
Yeah. So go ahead. What were you saying?
Yes, I was saying that we live in the sub-Saharan. Okay, let's more precisely in West Africa. We've got a very interesting evolution of Islam, and most of us who are born, we are born inside that deen. We are born as Muslims, as we will call it, and therefore we grow up, practicing the Islam that we have on the ground. And with time, we've had the opportunity now with the exposure of knowledge through all media, the schools sprouting, Islamic schools and all. We are now conscious of a lot of other things that we might have probably neglected or might have not been taken into serious consideration in our practice of the deen. And therefore it has brought some new emerging thoughts and new emerging practices, or let's say it has brought some kind of a revival of some of the things that might have been lost with time. Which have probably been influenced by our cultural practices, because of the way we live, and Islam has not condemned most of it at the beginning, and therefore it has kind of influenced the way we practice until at some point we might have forgotten some of the basics. So today we are seeing some emergence of a lot of these things, and therefore we will see probably in the course of this discussion what are those and how it has influenced the new thoughts, particularly among the youths like us.
So are you considered like a real African?
Oh, yes. I'm considered a real African from many generations back. And I'm from a family that is very much attached to Islam also in almost 8 or 9 generations up. So, yes. I consider myself a real African.
How prominent is Islam? What percentage of Africa is actually Muslim?
Oh, okay. Maybe Africa would be too large for me to say because I've not checked the statistics. But let me look at West Africa. West Africa is very, very Islamized. We have Senegal, Mauritania, Mali, Gambia, Burkina Faso, Guinea-Conakry. So we have a large population of Muslims in these countries. If you go to certain other countries, Nigeria, for example, is divided into the north and the south. And you find that in the south, they are more Christianized because when the colonialists came and wanted really to convert their states, into Christians to be able to better rule them so they can read and write and understand what they are saying. So they succeeded in Nigeria by dividing the place into two because they already had the north that was very well Islamized as a result of the works of a certain Usman Danfodio, who converted most of the Hausa into Islam. And therefore, it was difficult to convert them to Christianity. But those in the south who were animists were easily converted. And therefore, you have this kind of two religions side by side. In fact, if you look at their political system, they always encourage a president who is a Muslim having a vice president who is a Christian, or a president who is a Christian having a vice president who is a Muslim, just to be able to make sure that both the North and the South do not go in conflict, even at that level. But then in most of other countries, like the Guinea-Conakry, in Senegal, Gambia, as I mentioned, you find that the percentage of Muslims are almost at 90%. So the number of Christians are very, very minimal, even though there is this tolerance and cohabitation that doesn't create any tension between the two religions.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, you navigating through all of this, things that have nothing to do with Islam, you talk about in your early years. One thing that comes to my mind is a previous guest that I had on the program, Brother John, and he talked about, he was studying Islam and he read the Surah Al-Falaq, Nas, these towards the end of the Qur'an, the verbatim word of God Almighty. And then he was in Africa and he saw them doing witchcraft, tying the knots. Right. Yes. So is this really prevalent there, that they have this witchcraft and they have people dealing with the jinn and stuff like this?
Okay. Maybe to clarify that further, we call those amulets here. Amulets are actually, yes, what they use the name of God. Amulets, that's right.
Yeah.
They use the name of God and then they write it in kind of very strange boxes. You have this, in Europe, you have this kind of a box where you have the nine squares in which you have 5 in the middle, and say if you add it diagonally, you get the same amount. If you add it horizontally and vertically, that kind of string kind of numerical. So they believe, some of them have really studied this kind of mystic ways of translating the name of God into that kind of into this kind of letters. So what they do is they create a whole, in an A4 paper, for example, they will write very strange figures on them, and then they will now tie this up into a kind of a skin, and even the skin of a goat, for example, that has been dried and then scraped until all the hair is off, and then they will tie it in that kind of a skin, and then they will have it now properly sewn, also with skin, not with thread. And then once it is done, then they will put a hole across it, and then they will tie a band around it. It could either be put around your waist or around your arm or around your neck, or even on your head sometimes, if some people want to expose it. And they would make you believe it has some magical elements in it. It can, for example, protect you from a bullet getting through your body. If somebody shoots at you, it will not get in. Some people will make you believe that if you wear it, you can even disappear. You will not be seen by mortal eyes. So yes, we have had this. And ironically, they use the Qur'an, they use the scripture to use that to be able to write these kinds of strange stuff. And a lot of people do believe it. And by the way, Islam considers that as shirk, because it is a way of believing something being more powerful in protecting you, more powerful in saving you, or whatever. And therefore, you equate it with God. And in some points, you even take that to be the sole possible source of your protection, forgetting that your creator is actually the main source. And it has led a lot of people in serious conditions of getting out of the deen, because shirk is one of the highest sins in Islam. So once you are into that, and we're tying amulets around your waist and your arms and everywhere, even sometimes across your chest and everything. So basically, you feel that without those, you are not no more part of, you are not protected, you are not safe. So you forget completely that there are other ways of protecting yourself that has been established by Islam through our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But you will not study those, because you believe and trust that these amulets will save you. Now, others also have a way of giving you these kinds of things, and they ask you to soak it in water, to give it to your husband so that he will love you more, to give it to an enemy so that the person will go mad or crazy, or put it in their food or in their drinks. So we have been having this going on. And the strange thing is that these beliefs sometimes turn out to come true. I mean, it's, evil has a way of becoming real in our lives. The more you believe it, the more it can turn real. So some people really go mad when they're given these concoctions, or some people, go barren, or others are really affected. So as a result, people believe that it works, because that's the way Satan works. It makes them believe that it actually works. So yeah, it is something very prevalent in our part of the world, and it has been unfortunately so mixed up with our religion that some people still believe that it is all part of our religion.
So how did you, coming up as a young man and then getting to where you are today, navigate through all of the different sects that were out there and some of these things that you had mentioned to come to the position where you're at, someone now who's living by the Qur'an and the Sunnah, but you had to go through a journey and being exposed to all this so other people can relate when they see certain weird things and they think like, oh my God, what does this have to do with Islam, doesn't it? And people mix it together with Islam, so there's the confusion. How did you get through this and navigate through all of this?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the whole thing, unfortunately, is that we neglect a lot discovering our religion or finding out more about our religion. And that's what has been our problem. Most of us, because we've been comfortably born within an Islamic society, we tend to follow leaders, most of whom, unfortunately, also haven't got probably adequate knowledge of the deen itself, and their own practice is not the correct practice of the deen. And unfortunately, then we go astray. So growing up young, we have also been wearing amulets. We have been, we've gone through the whole practice that I've just described. And at the time, nobody would have made me believe that it's not true. In fact, I would fight with anyone who tells me that what I'm doing is not Islamic. It's not Islamic. You
yourself were so convinced of it at one point that you would fight somebody who told you otherwise, huh?
Oh yes, yes, yes. I mean, I have a lot of people who will associate to that, especially from this part of Africa. You know what they will make you believe is that you wear this amulet around your waist. You know, you have a way of protecting yourself against bad guys. You know, and you believe it, and then you are given this, and you pay a huge amount of money to a marabout, as they will call them here. These guys who prepare these things, and they will ask you to wear them, and they will probably ask you to even sacrifice a lamb and things like that. And sometimes maybe even the blood or something would all be mixed up in a kind of a ritual to make sure that you are all protected and everything. So naturally, you believe it, and then you tie this around your waist. They tell you when you're going to the toilet, you don't take it in the toilet because it has the name of God and all these things. So they have the whole story around it. So you keep wearing it and you keep protecting yourself, believing it is protecting you. And naturally, you will not do what the Sunnah requires you to do to protect yourself. And then, so because you don't know, because you have not studied it. So what happened really is that most of us decided, therefore, to embrace education, and this is what the International Open University has always been about, is to make sure that people discover their own deen through the books. You have to read. Iqra is not only meant for our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Actually, it is meant for mankind. The fact that you must read means that you must discover your deen throughout the course of your life. So the more you discover, the more you realize that there are many, many ways you can live a much simpler life without having to depend on all these gadgets around your body. Can you imagine if I were to go to the airport and I have about 3 of them tied around my waist in an airport security check, and I have 5 of them around my waist and some of them around my neck? I mean, they will probably take me straight to the psychiatric unit, believing that I might be going crazy. But people believe it, and we have seen this happening until today. And we've been trying our best also to educate other people, to inform them that through the knowledge that they will gain by reading the Quran, by reading the Sunnah, what the Sunnah requires for your protection, what the Sunnah requires for your association with other people, gradually people are trying to shun it away and throwing it away. And today I'm really free. You don't. I mean, when I go to when I practice my deen, I know what I can read. During salat, after salat, I know what I should do in zikr. Protect myself when I'm going to bed, I'm getting to a place, talking to a crowd, etc. So, and these things are the practices of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but we do not know them. We do not practice them at all.
Dr. Sharino, I want to get your reaction now to something that here in America is a topic that is becoming more talked about. And the person who made this documentary, it reminded me of showing you this because this was actually in Africa. Maybe you can identify where in Africa, if you know this tribe. I don't think they're Muslim, but hear what they have to say and get your reaction to this. And is this a topic that is discussed over in your area as it is by us? Your thoughts on it?
What if a man decides that his gender identity is woman?
A woman has its own duty, and a man has its own duty, and a lady cannot do the duty of a man, and a man cannot do a duty of a woman.
Can a man become a woman?
No.
No?
No.
What about a transgender?
Eh?
Transgender?
No.
No?
It will look like if you want to become a lady but you're a man, you have something wrong in
Something
your mind.
wrong.
Something wrong in your family, something wrong in you.
What about if someone was non-binary?
Come again?
Non-binary? Do you know, like someone is
you're not a woman, you're not a man.
yeah, someone is neither. There's something else. Is that?
He's saying we have never seen things like those. For a man, he has a penis. For a woman, he has a vagina. So we know this is a lady, this is a man.
What if it's a woman with a penis?
Both?
Is that? People are laughing. Is that a dumb question?
Did you understand the language they were speaking?
Actually, I do not, but I know they are the Maasai from Kenya. I've been to Kenya myself, so I know them to be the Maasai. These are basically people who live in isolation in the wilderness. They mostly take care of cattle, mostly cattle, and in fact, these Maasai are much shorter than the normal Maasai. They can be taller than this. So they live between the Swazi, where we call Eswatini today, Kenya, around that area.
Your thoughts to what the conversation was about? Are they having this kind of conversation in Africa like they are having over here? Trying to distinguish who's a man, who's a woman?
It's a conversation that is not very easily openly discussed, because people don't feel that kind of a question, that kind of an issue is really a big subject to discuss. For two reasons, probably. On one, it is discomforting to talk about people's privacy. They believe that when you're talking about people's private life or private sex, it's a kind of a privacy. The other thing is that it can be very shocking when you bring up issues that people are not used to hear, and they are more used to seeing it over the TV, in movies, or maybe had it spoken about in the West. The issue of, for example, a man transforming himself into a woman doesn't even occur within the communities here. We've seen men who have been behaving very womanly, to make it to just bluntly say it very nicely, but they have always been seen to be people with problems. They have never been seen to be homosexuals, for example. So they are seen in the society as people who have some psychological issues, and therefore they are treated as such, as people who are not correct. And then in fact, in some cases, like in cultural dances, some certain cultural practices, you have men wearing women's clothes and women wearing men's clothes, but they do that just a way of teasing the other sex. It's a way of mockery to the opposite sex. So it's not done as a way of life. It's done on a particular event, just to say that the woman saying to the man, you see, I can wear your clothes and look like you. And the man said, yes, I can also wear your clothes and look like you. So it is more fun than really a way of life. So if you look at the questions they have been asking, they have been, if you look at the guys to answer, they're a little bit uneasy. It's not that they're laughing because it looks stupid, but they are not comfortable discussing these topics openly. They might speak about it amongst themselves in privacy and all that, but openly like that, especially with the strangers, is very, very difficult. And it's the same around this end too. So it's not a topic openly discussed, really.
Yeah, so you can imagine adults feeling uncomfortable to talk about this, but now they're pushing on this. They're pushing this in the school system on 3-4-year-olds.
Yes,
that's what's going on. Yes. So this opens us up in the last few minutes that we have to talk more about why education is so important. And this is where you're the vice president of the institution, IOU. So talk to us about the importance, because like we started navigating through all the confusion, if you got the proper education, it's going to help you not to fall into, hopefully, God willing, these traps by Shaitan.
Yes, indeed. And I'm happy that you mentioned it, because myself as an education consultant, in fact, I have had the opportunity to sweep around some of the curricula that we have been subjected to recommend in the schools, including the exposure that most of our children have through the social media, through the new TVs, because now with television, you have a lot of movies and series that are coming out, and it kind of attract a lot of, attention in some families. And unfortunately, most of the families are not well educated to know how to protect their children from that exposure they have with the TV. They think it's normal for them to keep watching anything they watch. It's normal for them to read anything they read. It's normal to have a smartphone, and then go online and then go through the social media with all the kind of platforms that we have now. What they do not know, unfortunately, is that the exposure is also changing the mindset. It's also exposing them to another culture that is alien to the kind of culture we're talking about. If somebody like me, who has not had, let's say, that strong religious background, but we are within an Islamic religious family, and you are not practicing Islam as it's required from childhood, because it's just because you are a Muslim, you believe that you should pray 5 times a day, but you are not praying 5 times a day. When the occasion arises, you don't have any fear in you because you don't know much about your religion. Now, if you are exposed to that kind of thing, then you can easily be influenced naturally, and then then you find that kind of culture coming now, creeping into your society, eventually, molding your society into a different way. And that fear, I think, should be in every parent. It should be in every policymaker in the area of education. Very recently, there has been a lot of structural adjustments happening in our countries. Unfortunately, it's not enough. The International Open University that I had, for example, we've been reaching out across the whole continent. What we are doing, in fact, we have appealed to donors to help support the children who might probably not afford it, and provide what we call the education, which is an Islamized form of education. It brings the virtues of Islam, not only teaches us the values that we need to nurture as Muslims, but it also helps through the books that we have and through the education system that we provide to even Islamize some of the subjects. Like if you are doing biology now, if you are doing chemistry, if you are doing physics, you can do chemistry, biology, and physics. Well, you don't have to do it in the same curricula that is being exposed to the West. You can do it from an Islamic perspective and study it knowing that what you are studying has some relevance into your life, both in the dunya probably and the hereafter. It has a relevance of ensuring that you have, a passion for science and a passion for arts and a passion for anything, but knowing also what is the rulings of Islam in all that you study. And also bringing some other Islamic knowledge, like Islamic psychology, brings you a different concept or perception of what psychology is all about. Instead of having to write psychology from the Western perspective, because the Western perspective, as you know, just to give an example, understands psychology from the mind, while the Islamic perspective can understand psychology from the soul, because the soul is not understood by the Western concept of psychology. They don't see the soul, they only see the mind. So it's a physical, palpable thing that they use to study psychology, while the Islam uses all that Islamic requirements, in order for you to understand Islamic psychology. So yes, we have an Islamic perception of our education system, and we are trying to encourage some of the governments to also embrace that, because if you have a large community of Muslims, and what they are doing now, they just have a curriculum that is being dropped from the West and imposed on your people. And naturally, then they will be exposed to a lot of other practices that are alien to your deen. And if you are not careful, it becomes something normal for you to do. It's something normal for you to believe. And when you don't believe it, they make you believe that if you don't believe it, then you are not cultured. You are not wise. You cannot live within that kind of society. If they can easily make you believe that homosexuality is a right, naturally, then if you are not strong in your deen, if you don't understand what is the basis of your belief, you believe that homosexuality is right, and naturally you will carry it along as a kind of a culture. So yes, there's a lot to do, unfortunately, around this end. So it's a kind of a battle between those who are providing our support for our education system, and therefore, what as they call it, who are pulling the strings. They said if the one who feeds you will make you dance to the music, to the tune, right? So naturally, if we do not review our own education system ourselves, if you do not do a kind of a complete overhaul of the type of education we give for our children, naturally what we do is we give them the education that we are forced to give them because of the support we receive, and then we expose them therefore to the kind of cultures that we know our religion do not accept, we know our cultures do not accept, and we know it's not our way of life, and then we will lose eventually in the run. So this is why International Open University stands firm to ensure that the kind of education we provide is the Islamized concept of learning, and hoping that people who come through our system and then believe in what we do will also come out as skillful people who will understand how life is across all subjects, but at the same time understand it from the Islamic perspective, inshallah.
So now, for people who are serious about their deen, they want to get well grounded in the deen, they want tools to be able to navigate through all of the confusion and all of the things that are out there, that can take them away from the deen. They are ready. They have some questions. They can go and learn more at the website. Also, one question that might come to mind: is this accredited? Is the IOU accredited?
Yes. The International Open University is accredited by the National Accreditation and Quality Assurance Authority of the Gambia. We also have accreditation in Malawi with the National Council for Higher Education in Malawi. And we have also reached out to many countries where most of our students have graduated and have been having difficulties in getting their certificates recognized. We've entered into agreements through their governments and institutions that are now accepting our students, in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Pakistan and other places. So yes, the IOU is reaching out everywhere. We have in the States a lot of students. I know it's not very easy, for example, in the States to get the accreditation that is required, but we have a lot of our students who have had the opportunity to study with us, and most of them probably are doing it just for the love of knowing more about their deen. But those who are doing some of our professional programs have also succeeded on very rare occasions to also have universities that accept them. Because accreditation in the Gambia means a lot too, because in Gambia, the accreditation process is very stiff, and it also follows the same norms and standards and guidelines that are recommended internationally. So it is not new that if you are accredited in the Gambia, then you cannot have the access in other places. Just that when you're a private institution now, there are a lot more rigor that you have to go through to be able to have the recognition all over. Because we are virtual, except for the headquarters that we have in the Gambia and the few campuses that we have built in some areas of Africa. Because we are entirely virtual, it is also one challenge we have. Before the COVID-19, many people will not believe that online education is a possibility. They would think that there is still a lot of gaps in ensuring quality and standard in that kind of education. Yeah. They have now been proven wrong. COVID has come to prove them wrong, that there is a way of ensuring you can get a full course online and yet still maintain the same standards, in both the content knowledge and the delivery method. So we are trying to encourage also other governments. We've reached out to Rwanda. Some universities have invited us to support them in the online education. A lot of other universities are interested to test with us. I'm just from Nigeria last week, and we've talked to the accreditation body there. They're interested. They have not yet embraced a full online education yet. They are still on open and distance learning and e-learning. But we're going to get there. We're going to get there. And I'm hoping that very soon, a lot of other people who are probably deprived of education, deprived of opportunities, would have university education without having to travel distances and at a very affordable cost.
So I myself, if I remember correctly, you have two avenues there, and I benefited tremendously from both. So you have the one where you can go get the diplomas, that you go there and you complete certain modules and certain subjects, and you have the modules, the PDF, you have the videos, and then you graduate from those. I've taken many of those. I've benefited myself tremendously. Then you have the other one. You have the other one where you're going for your BA. Then you get the credit hours. Get those. I've also taken many of those. I was doing that for many years. So I've also myself, alhamdulillah, benefited tremendously. So if somebody's ready to get started and get out of the confusion and get serious with their deen, get well grounded in the deen, tell them where they can go.
International Open University, if you get to the website www.iou.edu.gm, you will find a lot of information on that website about how you can join us. And I'm happy you mentioned that. I'm happy you mentioned it because we have also what we call free diplomas. Now we probably, because of the nature of the free course, a lot of people probably will not be committed, but we have a token fee of $10, for example, sometimes, or $20 for you to do a course, for example, on fiqh, to understand some of the basics of your deen. And as you have rightly said, the platforms are very interactive. You have a video that would allow you, you can download it. You can even have it on your mobile phone. You can be driving from your home to your workplace, and you can look through it on the phone while you are in the bus. Instead of having to waste your time watching across the window, you'll be having something to occupy yourself before you reach your destination. If you are in the tram, or as they say in the US, if you are in the metro, in the underground train going to home, you might have to spend about half an hour, 45 minutes. Why not use that also?
Exactly.
Make sure you have it downloaded in case internet is difficult. So you can follow our courses, and they are very, very convenient and easily adaptable to all the systems. You can even have it as an audio only, because we have the audio version also on the platform. And then you can download the course if you wish to per module. You don't have to download the whole book. You download your module only, it could be about 4 or 5 pages that you can carry in your pocket. And anytime you want to make reference to it, you bring it out and do reference to it, and then read it through and all that. So we are very flexible. The flexibility is really there when it comes to learning. For those people, particularly in the developed countries, is very, very easy. And then we have the diploma, we have the certificate and the diploma and the bachelor programs, and even the post graduate programs are on now. We have already developed master's programs in all the other areas: Islamic studies, Arabic, banking and finance, Islamic banking and finance, business administration, IT. So we are bringing all of them up now, and the master's programs are just about 2 years and flexible too. You don't have to even pay the full year. If you want, you can pay per semester. It's just an enrollment. It's not even a tuition. You enroll yourself with a very minimal fee. If you are in the US, for example, with about $300 or $350 now, you can have a full 4-month course, something you'll hardly find in any university. In a year, you pay less than $1,000 and you have a full year program, a certificate program. And I have to tell you this, and I'm proud to say this. We've done an assessment, and it's even done by an American research institute, that all those who are studying online, because of the nature of the platform, because of the nature of the delivery, mode of delivery, you have the advantage of retaining more of that knowledge than if you were to go in the conventional brick and mortar 4-corner classroom. Because the 4-corner classroom has a lot of other, what we call distractions. And basically when the lecture happens, that's the end of it. But for you, the lecture is available multiple times in a video format, in an audio format. You can read and listen and listen. You can have your book, follow the lecture. You can do your assignments. You review the lecture. You go again and do your assignment. Something you cannot get from a lecturer. A lecturer will give you a magistral course, and you take your notes. You have your book, and that's the end of it. So it means that the retention percentage is much higher when you do an online course. So the IO is proud to say that the platform we have built so far has been proven to be of high quality, very interactive, very and it's not, you don't even have to need high IT knowledge of it. Just basic IT, how to log into your program, get directly to your platform, and then you can get access to your program, to your courses, and that's the end of it. And the advantage also is that you do every module, and after every module or every 2 modules, you have the opportunity to do a test. And once you do that assignment, if you pass it, you get the pass mark, let's say 50% or 60%, then it opens up your second 2 modules and you do them. So it allows you also to force you to keep revising those 2 modules until you are sure you understand them well before you can do the assignment. And once you do the assignment or the online test, you get the minimum mark, then the other ones will automatically unlock themselves and then allow you now to do the next one. So it has a very interesting method that I'm sure anybody who practices once or twice, you'll find it very, very easy. You just have to manage yourself. Time management is important in this case. And also, make sure that you spend more time on your learning than wasting your time on TVs and doing other things that might not fit to you.
Exactly.
So IOU is an institution really where you can even study from there and study in another university. Some people have been doing it in the Gambia. They registered with us, they registered with the National University, and they excel. We were surprised that they excel. They just had to manage their time well, and they were able to study in both universities and came out, with flying colors.
Dr. Shrino Omar Berry, thank you very much for spending some time with us here on The Dean Show.
Thank you, my respected brother, and thank you so much for this great opportunity. And I hope that what we have said here will be of benefit to our listeners and those who are viewing us too.
Inshallah. May Allah bless you. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi
wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in. So if you want to get serious about your deen, this is a great resource. I've actually benefited from myself, the IOU. Go ahead and get started today because there are many distractions. As he said, you could be on the train, you could be on the plane, you could be working out. You can put those headphones on instead of listening to music and a lot of the other toxic stuff that's out there. You could be getting educated, and then you can go ahead and decipher what's the deen and what's not the deen, just like he did. So go ahead and get started with the IOU. I really highly recommend it, and continue to tune in to the Dean Show. And if you wanted an update with the Dean Center, we're halfway there, completing this project. So you can go ahead and get involved And we'll see you next time. Until then, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you here on the Deen Show. Until then, peace be with you. Assalamu alaikum. I cannot leave without giving you a gift. If you're not yet Muslim and you're tuning in to see what these Muslims are talking about, and you like a free copy of the Qur'an, go ahead and visit thedeenshow.com. We'll take care of the postage and everything and get it delivered to you. And if you still have some questions about Islam, call us at 1-800-662-4752. We'll see you next time. Until then, peace be with you. Assalamu alaikum. The pastor chose, rather than having the church tore down totally, they actually, wanted it to continue as a house of worship. So people have this opportunity to go ahead and make this a reality. Brothers and sisters, we're halfway there. This is your brother Eddie from the Deen Show, and alhamdulillah, we are purchasing a 35,000 square foot property to build the Deen Center, a Dawah Center, a masjid, the first of its kind in America, and we are halfway there. We have $700,000 left that must be collected in order to close on the property. Get the tremendous rewards by donating right now. May God Almighty Allah reward all of you.